The whispering thread. The internet is a labyrinth of secrets, a sprawling digital underworld where shadows cast long, invisible threads. Most of us skim its surface, blissfully unaware of the currents that swirl beneath currents that can pull you under, drown you in places where the light of reason gutters and dies. My name is Elise, and I thought I knew the internet. I was wrong. What I found in the summer of 2025 wasn't just a game or a prank. It was something older, hungrier, and far more patient than I could have imagined. It started with a notification. The first thread. I was 24, a graphic designer freelancing from a cramped apartment in Portland. My life was a patchwork of deadlines, instant coffee, and late-night scrolls through obscure forums. I wasn't one of those people obsessed with viral trends or influencers. I preferred the quiet corners of the internet, places where people traded stories about urban legends, conspiracy theories, or forgotten pieces of code that supposedly did weird things to your computer. That's where I stumbled across the whispering thread. That it was July 15th, 2025, a muggy night that made my apartment feel like a sauna. I was browsing a subreddit called r/obscurenet, a place for weird internet artifacts, glitchy websites, cursed images, that sort of thing. A post caught my eye, buried under the usual noise. The title was simple: Has anyone tried the whispering thread? The post was by a user named Threadspinner. No profile picture, no post history, just a single block of text. It's not a game, not a challenge, not a prank. The whispering thread is real. Follow the instructions exactly, or don't bother. It finds you either way. Link below. Don't say I didn't warn you. Below was a URL, a string of random characters hosted on a domain I didn't recognize. whsprthrd.onion. It was a dark web link, which wasn't unusual for r/obscurenet. The comments were sparse. Most people dismissed it as a troll or a virus. One user, Glitcherhound, wrote, "Clicked it, just a blank page with a text box. Typed my name, got a 404 error, lame." Another, Shadow Creeper, replied, "Don't type your name, idiot. You're already in. I should have closed the tab. I should have gone to bed." But curiosity is a cruel thing. It gnaws at you, whispers that you're missing something. I copied the URL, fired up my Tor browser, and clicked dot. The page loaded slowly, a black void with a single white text box in the center. Above it, in faint gray font, were the words, "Speak your name to the thread." No instructions, no context, just that. I hesitated. The dark web was full of scams, malware, and worse. But the simplicity of it, the stark, unadorned design felt oddly compelling. It wasn't trying to sell me anything. It wasn't even trying to scare me. It just waited. I typed my name, Elise Marrow. The moment I hit enter, the screen flickered. Not a crash, not a glitch, but a subtle pulse, like the page was breathing. A new line of text appeared. "The thread has heard you. Listen for its whisper." Then the page vanished. My browser crashed, and my laptop fan whirred like it was choking. I rebooted, checked for viruses, found nothing. The URL was gone from my history, and when I searched r/obscurenet for the post, it was deleted. Threadspinner's account no longer existed. I told myself it was nothing. A prank, a dead-end arg, or maybe just a broken script. But that night, as I lay in bed, I heard it, a faint, rhythmic hum, like static from a radio tuned to a dead frequency. It wasn't coming from my laptop or my phone. It was in the room, in the walls, in my head. I sat up, heart pounding, and listened. The hum shaped itself into something else, something almost like a voice. It wasn't speaking words, not yet. It was testing me, tasting the edges of my mind. The second thread. The next morning, I woke to a new email in my inbox. The sender was a string of gibberish: x77 952 whsprthrd.onion. The subject line read, "You've been chosen, Elise." My stomach dropped. I hadn't given anyone my email, not on that site, not anywhere. The email contained a single sentence: "Find the thread before it finds you." Attached was a text file named thread1.txt. Against my better judgment, I opened it. It was a list of instructions, written in cold, precise prose. "Do not speak of the thread to others. It listens at midnight. Light a candle and place it by your window. Do not look outside. When you hear the whisper, answer its question. Lie, and it will no. Complete the task it gives you. Refuse, and it will take what it needs. The thread is patient. You are not." I laughed, a nervous, brittle sound. This was ridiculous, a chain letter for the digital age, a creepypasta come to life, but the hum was still there, faint but persistent, like a heartbeat in the walls. I deleted the email, blocked the sender, and tried to focus on work, but my designs came out wrong. Lines twisted into spirals, colors bled into sickly grays. My clients complained, saying the files felt off, like they were looking at something forbidden. That night, I couldn't sleep. The hum grew louder, more distinct. It wasn't just noise anymore, it was a voice, soft and sibilant, curling around my thoughts like smoke. At 11:58 p.m., I gave in. I lit a candle, set it on my windowsill, and turned off the lights. The instructions said not to look outside, but the urge was overwhelming. The glass reflected the candle's flame, a tiny beacon in the dark. I kept my eyes on it, refusing to glance beyond Dot. At midnight, the whisper came. "Elise," it said, not from the room, but from inside my skull. "What are you afraid of?" I froze. The voice was neither male nor female, neither young nor old. It was a chorus of fragments, layered and discordant, like 1,000 voices speaking at once. I didn't want to answer, but my mouth moved on, its own. Losing control, I whispered. The candle flickered. The hum intensified, vibrating in my bones. Then the voice spoke again. "Good. Now find the first knot." The candle went out. The room plunged into darkness, and for a moment, I thought I saw something outside, a shape, tall and thin, with too many limbs, pressed against the glass. I screamed, stumbling back, and the shape was gone. When I relit the candle, a new email was waiting on my phone. The subject was not one. "Go to the place where you first felt fear. Bring a mirror. Leave before dawn." The third thread. The place where I first felt fear wasn't hard to pinpoint. When I was 6, my family lived in an old house on the outskirts of Portland, a creaking relic with a basement that smelled of damp earth and something sour. I used to have nightmares about that basement, about a shadow that moved when the lights were off, a shadow that whispered my name. We moved when I was 8, and I hadn't been back since. The house was still there, abandoned. According to Google Maps, the idea of going back made my skin crawl, but the whisper was relentless, a constant pressure in my mind. I bought a small hand mirror from a thrift store, its frame chipped and tarnished. At 2 a.m., I drove to the house, the mirror clutched in my lap. The street was deserted. The house is dark. The old place looked worse than I remembered, sagging roof, broken windows, vines choking the porch. The air felt heavy, like the world was holding its breath. I didn't want to go inside. I told myself I'd just stand on the porch, hold the mirror, and leave. But as I stepped out of the car, the whisper returned, sharper now, impatient. "The knot is inside," it said. "Find it." The front door was unlocked, swinging open. With a groan, the air inside was thick with dust, and the floorboards creaked under my weight. My flashlight beam danced across, peeling wallpaper and overturned furniture. The basement door was at the end of the hall, just as I remembered. I didn't want to go down there, but my feet moved anyway, pulled by something I couldn't name. The basement was a black pit, the stairs descending into nothing. I held the mirror in one hand, my flashlight in the other, and started down. The whisper was louder now, a chorus of voices overlapping, urging me deeper. At the bottom, the air was colder, wetter. My flashlight caught something in the corner, a pile of old clothes, or so I thought. Then it moved. It wasn't a pile. It was a figure, crouched and still, its limbs bent at wrong angles. Its head was bowed, hidden in shadow, but I could feel it watching me. The mirror in my hand grew warm, then hot, burning my palm. I dropped it, and the glass shattered on the concrete floor. The figure twitched, its head snapping up. It had no face, just a smooth, featureless expanse where a face should have been. But it spoke. "You found the first knot," it said, in the same layered voice that haunted my dreams. "Now, tie it." I don't remember running. I don't remember driving home. But I woke up in my apartment, the mirror somehow back in my hand, its glass intact but cracked. There was a new email waiting, not one tied. The thread tightens. The fourth thread. The days blurred together after that. The whisper never stopped. It was in every quiet moment, every pause between thoughts. It told me things, secrets about people I knew, truths I didn't want to face. My best friend, Clara, was lying about her new job. My neighbor, Mr. Hargrove, wasn't who he claimed to be. The whisper knew everything, and it wanted me to know, too. The second knot was worse. The email came 3 days later, instructing me to go to an abandoned factory on the edge of town. This time, I had to bring a piece of myself, something personal, something I couldn't bear to lose. I chose a locket my mother gave me before she died, a silver heart with her picture inside. The whisper approved, its voice curling with satisfaction. Factory was a maze of rust and shadows, its machinery frozen in decay. The whisper guided me to a room at the heart of the building, where a rusted metal chair sat under a single flickering bulb. On the chair was a box, small and black, with my name carved into the lid. Inside was a photograph not of my mother, but of me, standing in the factory, holding the locket. I hadn't taken that picture. I hadn't been there before that night. The whisper told me to burn the locket. I didn't want to, but my hands moved on their own, striking a match, holding the flame to the silver. As it melted, the whisper laughter sounded like breaking glass. The photograph changed, my face warping into something else, something not human. I left the factory at dawn, the box clutched to my chest, the whisper chanting, 2 knots tied. The thread grows stronger. The 5th thread, I stopped sleeping. Food tasted like ash. The whisper was a constant now, a second pulse in my veins. It told me the thread wasn't a game or a curse, it was a pattern, woven through the world, older than time. Every knot I tied brought me closer to its center, to the thing that wove it. I didn't want to know what waited there, but I couldn't stop. The thread had my name. It had my fear. The 3rd knot took me to a forest outside the city, a place where the trees grew too close, their branches tangling like veins. The instructions were simple. Dig. I brought a shovel and a knife, as the email demanded. The ground was soft, almost eager, and after an hour, I found it a bundle wrapped in cloth, stained with something dark. Inside was a doll, crude and handmade, with buttons for eyes, and my name stitched into its chest. The whisper told me to cut it open. I did. Inside was a lock of hair, my hair, though I'd never cut it. There was blood, too, warm and fresh, though the doll had been buried for who knows how long. The whisper laughed again, louder, and the trees seemed to lean closer, their shadows twisting into shapes that weren't trees. I buried the doll and ran, the knife still in my hand, slick with blood that wasn't mine. The final thread. By the time the 4th knot came, I was barely human. My reflection was wrong, my eyes too wide, my skin too pale, my shadow too long. The whisper was part of me now, a voice I couldn't silence. It told me the final knot was close, that I was almost at the center of the thread. The email arrived at midnight. As always, go to the place where the thread began. Bring nothing. Take everything. I didn't know where it meant at first, but the whisper guided me. It took me back to my apartment, to the laptop, where I'd first typed my name. The screen was on when I arrived, though I hadn't touched it in days. The browser was open to whsprthrd.onion, the text box glowing. This time it didn't ask for my name, it asked for my soul. I typed yes. I don't know why. Maybe I was too tired to fight. Maybe I wanted to see the end. The screen pulsed again, and the whisper became a screamer. 1,000 voices, 1,000,000, all calling my name. The room dissolved, and I was somewhere else. It was a void, endless and cold, threaded with strands of light that pulsed like veins. At the center was the weaver, a thing too vast to comprehend, its form shifting between shadow and flesh, eyes and teeth and hands that weren't hands. It was beautiful and terrible, and it knew me. It had always known me. Elise, it said. Its voice, the whisper magnified, filling the void. You've tied the knots. Now you are the thread. I don't remember what happened next. I woke in my apartment, the laptop dead, the candle burned to nothing. The emails were gone, the browser history empty, but the whisper remains. It's quieter now, but it's there, waiting. I see it in mirrors, in shadows, in the faces of strangers. The thread isn't finished with me. It never will be. Epilogue. I'm writing this because I have to. The whisper told me to share the story, to let others find the thread. I don't know if it's a warning or an invitation. Maybe it's both. If you see a link, a post, a whisper, in the dark, don't follow it, don't type your name. But if you do, if you hear it, if you feel it, know this, the thread is patient. It's been weaving for centuries, and it never cuts loose what it claims. I'm not Elise anymore. I'm something else, something woven, and the whisper is calling your name.